All right, guys, we're going to talk about the Watchers. And, guys, it's very, very exciting. When Yeshua sat on the throne, he put the councils of all the mighty angels in their recognitions for good service, where they are sitting on thrones and given crowns. And then are major players in the apocalypse of the Lord Jesus. So thus far we've gone into many of them. We've talked about the chariot of the cherubim. We've talked about the 7 church angels and their relation to the 7 epistles. We talked about the 4 spirits of the heavens and how they are the army, the mighty army generals. We've talked about the 7 archangels and they are crowned, and the 24 elders. Not sure if I'll get into that or not, but the 24 elders are also given crowns and given seating on thrones. So again, in this one, we're going to also talk about these angels. This time, we're going to talk about who are the angels with the 7 bowls, the 7 golden bowls which are poured out. So guys, let's get right into it, and we'll go over a lot of scriptures and notes here. You can see I have 2 pages of notes. And again, I encourage you to get these and view these scriptures. I'll tell you the scriptures. But glory to his name, Lord, to the name of the Lord, because that unto the principalities and powers in heavenly places might be known by the ecclesia, the manifold wisdom of God. And in English, your version probably says church, but the reason I said ecclesia is the church doesn't have hardly any clue about this stuff. Even though they're manifold wisdom of God. You know, they think, you know, some of these angels are the devil. So that's just how confused they are. But guys, let's get right into it. The word watcher we find in Daniel 4. And we find something amazing. This is Daniel at the time of Nebuchadnezzar. And he has this dream and says, behold, a watcher, a holy one, came down from heaven. And this is what the angel says about Nebuchadnezzar. Let his heart be changed from a man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him. Okay? So here we have a watcher issuing a judgment on Nebuchadnezzar. And let it be 7 times pass over him. Now we're going to see some similar characteristics through all these descriptions that describe the watchers, guys. One of them is time. Now when they describe time, it is just that. They use the word time. And the word time actually means a year. So 7 times here is 7 years. So basically what they're saying is, Nebuchadnezzar, dude, you're gonna change from a man to like a cow for 7 years. And that's exactly what happened. So read the rest of that prophecy in Daniel 4, guys. It's great. I love it. But in verse 17, it says this. This is a matter by the decree of the watchers, and a demand by the word of the holy ones. So the watchers are issuing this decree from their council, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men, and gives it to whomsoever he will, setting up even the basis of men. So here, Nebuchadnezzar's used as an example to show the world and himself how base and primitive he is by turning him into an animal. Wow. But again, this is a matter of decree of the watchers. Okay, so they rule over the kingdoms of men and issue decrees. Now we're going to observe, guys, that many of these watchers are described in great detail in the book of Daniel and in Revelation. So Daniel 4, Daniel 10, Daniel 12, Revelation 10, Revelation 14, and 15. These are mostly where we're going to be quoting from. But in Daniel 10, verse 6, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold of Uphaz. We'll find, okay, so a girdle is a around the chest, and this signifies priesthood. And his body was like beryl, and that's like a bluish, greenish color. And his face was as the appearance of lightning. And his eyes were as lamps of fire. Wow. This amazing description. His arms and his feet were like the color of polished brass, and his voice of his words were like the voice of a multitude. Wow. I mean, you know, this even sounds like the Lord. But certainly we know this is not the Lord, because in verse 13 you can see that the prince of Persia withstood this person, this angel, 21 days. So this angel could not get through the opposition of this principality for 21 days, and he needed the assistance of Michael, the archangel. So clearly this isn't the Lord, because he's not going to be, you know, opposed by any demonic force. So that clearly this is an angel. But let's look at his description. Again, his face was like of lightning, and his eyes, you know, his eyes like lamps of fire burning. And his arms and feet, like in color to polished brass. Now, guys, the arms and the feet, or a lower portion of the leg, this relates to them walking on the coals of fire. And, you know, obviously Yeshua has this description of as well in Revelation chapter 1. But the coals and walking and ministering as a priest on the altar, it gives them a brash tint to their skin. And here you can see that this angel has it on both the arms and the legs. So as they administer as a priest, the fire changes their skin tone. Okay? Polished brass. And his voice like the voice of a multitude. And so guys, I'm going to share in this piece a couple stories, a couple visions and different things. One of them is the first time I heard the audible voice of the Lord was in 1991. And, you know, I say the voice of the Lord because that's kind of what we think it is. But usually it's probably just a messenger. It's probably just the angel that appears there and delivers a message, right? But here it says his voice is as the voice of a multitude. Now, if you hear this voice, guys, it sounds from everywhere. It's as if there's someone, it's as if like a whole choir is all around you, above you, below you. It even resonates inside you. And whatever is said is like, you know, it's like what happened to me. It was, you know, the Lord said to me, cut your hair. And it wasn't like a person. There was no like, it was perfect language. It wasn't like an accent or anything. It was perfect words. And it was like, came from everywhere. And you're just like, oh my God, that was so loud, man. But it was like, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it's a voice of a multitude. And you're not confused about what the message is. You're not like, I wonder if that was God. You're like, oh my God, God spoke to me. And it was like this loud thing, you know. So that's his audible voice. But it could just be a messenger that's saying, delivering a message. So at that time, guys, I had dreadlocks. But I wasn't really walking right with the Lord. And what happens is, see, I knew, now I understand what it means. But that was a long time ago, 91. But now I know that I was to do a Nazirite vow in the future. And I was growing my hair not for any, you know, spiritual purpose. But it was to cut that off for a future day, which I'm now doing. So that's why it was important for the Lord to get my attention about that. But let's keep going. Daniel 12. And I heard a man clothed in linen. Now we'll see many examples of being clothed in linen. Now this isn't necessarily a watcher angel. This could be any angel. This could be even the saints in heaven are clothed in linen. And I heard a man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river. And when he held his right hand and his left hand to heaven, and swear by him that lives forever, and this is what he said, a time, times, and a half. Again, this is an expression of the watchers. To scatter the power of the holy people, and that's when these things will be fulfilled. So here, a time is 1, times is 2, that's a total of 3, and a half. And a half is thus being 3.5 years. Okay? And here it is the power, is to scatter the power of the holy people. Now this we know is the great multitude in the time of the trumpets. Okay? And I also want to read to you Jeremiah 4:16. Make you mention to the nations. So again, we remember how we saw they relate to the nations. Behold, publish against Jerusalem that watchers come from a far country. And so here we can see a watcher coming from a far country, coming from heaven in Daniel 12. Watchers from a far country to give out their voice against the cities of Judah. So again, that's what they're doing. They're issuing decrees and to scatter the power of the holy people. All right. So those are 3 examples in Daniel. Daniel 4, 10, and 12. Now let's go to Revelation 10. And I saw another angel come down from heaven clothed with a cloud. And a rainbow was on his head, and his face was like the sun, and his feet like pillars of fire. And again, many of the feet and legs burnished brass or pillars of fire have to do with walking on the stones of coal of fire. These precious stones that are in the altar. And the angel which I saw upon the sea and the earth lifted up his hand and said, a time no longer. Again, this relates to this expression by the watchers of a time. So we have another watcher right here. And this angel swore by heaven and had one foot on the earth, another in the sea. Okay, let's keep going. Revelation 14, 14. Behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having his head a golden crown. So he has a cloud that he's sitting on, you know, and he has a crown. He's given a golden crown, all right? In his hands he had a sharp sickle. And another angel came. Now again, another angel is saying, okay, well, there's that angel, but here's another angel. Came out of the temple crying, thrust your sickle and reap, for the time has come for you to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And the next verse says, another angel, thus being a third angel, came out of the temple with a sharp sickle as well. So in this descriptions, you might conclude that one like the Son of Man sitting on a crown, sitting on a throne with the crown is Yeshua, but it's not. The reasons being is that it says clearly another angel, but also Yeshua said in Matthew 13:41 that there would be angels that gather the wheat in the tares. Okay, he said that specifically. So here it is where you see it in Revelation 14:14. But that's in Matthew 13:41. Angels reap the harvest. The other thing is that if it's Yeshua, he's getting orders and commands from another angel to tell him what to do. And we know that's not proper order of heaven. So again, we conclude this is another watcher angel. Okay, and now let's keep going. I have this day set over you. This is the Lord speaking to Jeremiah in Jeremiah 1:10. I have set you over nations and over kingdoms to root out, to pull down, and to destroy, and to throw down, to build and plant. So again, the watchers do things that relate to changing and shifting the things of kingdoms. And now let's also look at what they do with nations. All right? Deuteronomy 32:7 and 8. Ask your elders, they will tell you. When the Most High divided the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. So when God originally divided the nations, he did so in the same number of the children of Israel. And those numbers are 12 and 70. Just like there's 12 tribes, there's also 70 elders and 70 that went into Egypt at the time of Joseph. So the number 70 relates to the watchers, okay? And we'll look at more examples why. Actually, this example is the best. It's in number 7. And in number 7, 13 through 79, that's a lot of verses. But basically what you have is this is the offering of the 12 tribes to Moses at the time of the dedication of the altar. Now what they did is each one of them offered a silver bowl. They offered a silver bowl. The silver bowl weighed 70 shekels. Okay? So think about it. You got 12 tribes, each offering one silver bowl, And the weight of the silver bowl is 70 shekels. So this is the number 70 as it relates to nations. So you have it right there, 12 and 70. Okay? Now we also know that the watchers, we thus conclude, are the angels that also pour out the bowls. There are 7 angels with 7 bowls that pour them out. It says golden bowls there, but again, the angels there, the 7 angels, are watchers. And that's what we have concluded by looking at numbers, because the numbers of the 12 tribes and the weight of a bowl is 70. These are watchers, and it's a bowl that they're pouring out. And when they pour them out, it's an offering. All these things are offerings. The trumpets are offerings. Blowing of trumpets at the Feast of Trumpets and other temple services. The bowls are drink offerings. Okay? The seals are the marking of the 2 goats at the Day of Atonement. Okay? So all these things in Revelation are offerings. Now let's observe them as the 7 angels. But actually, let me actually, before we get into the 7 angels, I also want to describe something to you guys. And this is another example where I don't really know what type of angel this was. But I'm going to relate to you an experience. Now, this happened 4 years ago, I believe. Might have been 5 years ago. But it was April 7th. And I was just driving in my car, just doing errands. And I was in Salem, New Hampshire. And if any of you are familiar with it, I'm just coming up Broadway, where the Ford dealership is on your left. And I'm coming up that hill. And as I'm driving up that hill, I'm just driving. But I see an angel standing with a sickle in his hand. He looked like a hockey player to me. But it was just like, and he had gold armor, all a gold helmet, gold shoulder pads, gold chest, gold belt, and he was huge. I couldn't even see his legs because he was standing over states. He wasn't just a guy on the road. I mean, he was enormous. He was literally standing over entire states. And I couldn't even fathom the scope of his size. But he's standing there. And I just see this enormous thing, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is terrible. I'm trying to drive. I'm like, I'm going to get into an accident. I pull over, and the presence of God hits me, and I still see him. And he looks at me, and he says, move me. And I was just like, oh my God, what? And I just was weeping. I was like, what is going on? What does this mean? And so clearly he's holding a sickle, and he's saying, move me, move the sickle, reap the harvest. And I'm just like, why is the angel telling, what am I supposed to do? And that's what, guys, that's what got me on this journey. Then I was just like, I went to everybody I knew, anyone that I thought could understand what I'm saying, and I told them this vision. No one could explain it to me. But I kept seeking God and seeking God and seeking God. What does this mean? What is going on? Now I know what it means. He is a reaper angel. And he was military, but at the same time, he was one of the great angels over the great awakenings in New England. In New England, it happened right here, this soil. I'm in Vermont right now, but mostly in Massachusetts. You had the Great Awakenings. You had the first Great Awakening with Jonathan Edwards, and then you had the second Great Awakening as well in this area. And I believe he was the angel that reaped at those times of those harvests, and that's when he moved. And he's going to move again in these last days and reap a great harvest. Glory to God. But it's not my command. It's the command that you see in Revelation 14. The angel tells the angel sitting with the sickle on the cloud, reap. And so that now I understand the command. And so I'm, glory to God, excited to work with the angels on these things. So guys, these are, if you just do theology and study this stuff is one thing. But let me tell you, when you see them, they impact you. Or the message, or what, it freaks you out. You're just like, oh my God, what the heck is going on? And it should stir you to change and repentance and seeking God. Glory to His name. But again, let's go back to Revelation 15. So now we had a watcher angel that was part of the reaping of the harvest, but then we have another one for the 7 that are part of the bowls. So I saw another sign in heaven, a great and marvelous sign. 7 angels having the 7 last plagues, for them is filled up the wrath of God. And the 7 angels came out of the temple having the 7 last plagues, clothed in pure and white linen. Remember, we saw white linen before. And having their chests girded with golden girdles. Again, the chests girded with golden girdles, which we saw in Daniel 10. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels golden bowls full of the wrath of God. So here we have the proceedings of the angels. You have one of the 4 beasts giving the bowls to the 7 angels. Again, we consider them watcher angels. To then begin the next proceedings. And then the offerings and the things that were placed in those are then poured out. Each one would then pour out onto the earth. And thus we have now the 7 angels for the 7 bowls. We have the 7 archangels for the 7 trumpets, and the 4 spirits of the heavens for the first 4 angels of the horse riders. Okay, so covering those. Now, guys, all these councils work, or all these angels work in councils, I should say. And the council of these angels, again, it's a council of 70. But when you go to do the math, the number 70 is not divisible by 12. The number 72 is. So 12 times 6 is 72. So when you go to determine their council, sometimes it's the number 70, sometimes it's the number 72. But when you actually count the days, it's 72. So there are thus 5 times in a year, and those times are spaced out 72 days apart, when the council of the watchers conclude for that period of time. It's a time of judgment, what have you. Now, I'd heard about this before, but now I've studied it some more, and I've determined that these are the correct dates. The new calendar will actually have the markings of these dates. But let me tell you when they are. So the 5 times a year conclude and or begin on the 9th of Av. Okay, so that is the critical one. That's the first one I have listed. And the second one, then 72 days later. But remember, that's 360 days. So 72 times 5 is 360. But the next one would be the 7th month and the 21st day. This is the last day of Sukkot. So these are all council periods. The next one is the 10th month and 3rd day. Okay? The next one is the 12th month and 15th day. This is Purim. You can see these are significant dates. And the next one is the 2nd month and 27th day. This is the day before Yeshua ascended up into heaven in Acts chapter 1, after the 40 days that he appeared to his disciples. So that is the council of the watchers. These are specific dates when they meet and conclude, and that's when some of the feasts actually fall in these, or significant dates. The 9th of Av, Tabernacles, and Purim. Okay? So guys, that concludes it. So these are the watchers. Again, if you're interested in this type of study, and you're like the Church of Berea, that you studied those things to see if they are so, I'll make the notes available to you. There's 2 pages. But these are all very, very exciting things, guys. These are councils that I sit in, and I do work with these angels on things that are not really prudent for me to share, but I can teach on them and explain some of these mysteries that have been hidden from us. So to Yeshua be all the glory. The Lamb has released the seal. Glory to his name. Esther's year of preparation is just a few weeks away. So run to meet him. Behold, the bridegroom comes. Get ready. Okay? So glory to his name. We'll have some more soon, guys.